say something. Okay, welcome everyone. Good evening, good morning, or I don't know, wherever you are, whatever the time of day it is for you, good that. And I hope many more join, but let's start off so that others who have joined on time don't have to wait. It's going to be an awesome session today. As you can see the slide which is put up there, the power of pause through Dot Mandala. And I don't even know what that means, but I'm guessing Shruti is going to tell us what it all means. So this is going to be one of many such sessions to come. What we thought is that we'll have our learners host sessions where they can share what they're learning, what they're studying, how they're experiencing whatever they are studying and learning and so on, and in contribution to the coaching community. And of course, all that is relevant for coaching and around the coaching. So we are going to start off this, and Shruti was very brave and kind to be the first mover, and I'm sure you're going to have some first mover advantage there. I don't know what it will be, Shruti. So it's going to be an intense session. She was actually asking if we can stay on till 9:30, but then we said, 9:30, maybe intruding into dinner time for people and all. So let's see how much we can get done in an hour. So I want to just take half a minute to say something about Shruti. So for me, Shruti is one firebrand woman, And I remember recently I asked her in a classroom, perhaps, maybe you can correct me, Shruti, that is there anything that you don't do? Because whatever we say, she's done it, or whatever we don't even ask, she has done it. She reads and she draws and she paints and she dances and she does agile and she's a scrum master and she's a coach. And she's an engineer. And I don't know what else, right? So October 2021 is when I got introduced to Shruti. That's when she started her training with us at Regal. And she's finished her ACC and now she's on her PCC journey. I'm sure she's going to come out there with flying colors. Like one of these butterflies, she's going to emerge. And this is something that is very close to Shruti's heart. And every time we have a class, she keeps showing and sharing the work that she does, And so that has sort of made us feel that, okay, so this is what you're doing. Why don't you share it with the rest of the world? So I'm going to hand over to you now, Shruti. Please tell us whatever else you want to say about yourself and then just take us through this experience. Over to you.
Thank you. Thanks a lot, Rekha. I think I'm going to stop sharing for the fact that I love seeing faces and I just don't want that to get in the way of everything else. And I will start sharing the boring slides when the need be. So very good evening, everyone. We're at 8:06. I'm going to try to keep it short so that we have more time with colors and less time with words. So I'm Shruti Kulkarni, and as Rekha suggested, I started with the Regal firebrand in August 2021, I want to say. And it's just today that with two of my clients, I did Regal at 60 and one of them chose to do Regal at 75. And I want to say that this is a family that I'm extremely proud of being included into. So it's been a good journey so far. How are we here? Why are we here? I think as a person, I grew up in an army family. I lived across multiple places, cities, countries. A very privileged life, I must say, but it has come with my own challenges of wanting to fit in or trying to fit in different places, but finding that belonging every 2 years shifting. So if it's not clear, life has been very agile for me. So the professional term of agility kind of came at a very later stage, but I think I was very aware of what that meant earlier in life as well. So currently I work with a company called Synchrony Financial. I'm an AVP Senior Scrum Master with them. And I've been a Scrum Master for over a decade. The natural progression that goes into the agile coaching space, I think I've halted there because I also would like to feed my soul. And I'm one of those blessed people that does everything that I choose to do. And I love doing whatever I choose to do. So choices matter the most to me. And that's what I talk about when I talk to clients or conversations. And so yeah, that's a little about me. Hopefully not a lot. I took a minute of time. Why are we here today? We're going to talk about the power of pause. Pausing is something that we talk about a lot. I know Subhash and Rekha said, hold on to your question. Hold on. Think about what you're asking. How do you think about something when you're trying to think about this next thing? How do you stop thinking about it, right? So I'm somebody who was diagnosed with dyslexia and ADHD much later in my life. And currently, I'm very privileged to work with a lot of students from different foundations, different associations, who also have learning disabilities. And I think there's a power in that as well. And for those multiple reasons, painting somehow came to me 5 years ago. And I have been doing it. It's a kind of like a small business. I'm on Instagram, just plugging that in. If you are in and if you're interested, do follow me on. MuseArt, I think as rightly Regal MuseArt, I just divided the art portion because I think there's a lot of art involved in coaching as well. And we don't talk about enough. We don't, I think we are very particular as people to find control in what we do, but there is a concept as calculated risk. How do we find control in a safe space that even when we lose it, we are equipped enough that if it happens in real life, we have already normalized the reaction so that we can depict the same. So this painting, Power of Pause, is going to play the place of that safe space that you can channel your inner self and think about what comes ahead of you, right? That's a lot of talking, too much talking. So let's just dive into what we're doing, right? I'm going to share my screen for just a little background on what this means for us, right? Second. All right. As you can see, if you choose to contact me later on as well, this is where you can contact me at. Oops. What are we covering? We are going to look at what mandala is. What is a dot mandala? What are basic patterns that we're going to try and practice? A little practice time. Hopefully, we'll add a little music to it if time permits. And the last 10 minutes is just going to be reflection. So I'm going to try and see if we can cover that as well, at least 5 minutes. And questions, I know I say Q&A at the end, but feel free to ask anything at any moment, right? And that's going to be the space that we're going to be in. So just a reminder on all the materials you need. I'm going to paint like anybody else on paper. So I've got paper with me and any brand of paint would work. So if it's Fevicryl or you've got Camel, I've got Flash. So any kind of acrylic paint at all. It doesn't matter what brand it is. We're going to learn what the fluidity means of the paints as well. But that's one thing. I personally like a color palette. So I've got this color palette. Why is it so dirty, Shruti? Did you not know it as a workshop? But you know what? Something my mother told me when I was excessively cleaning this. She said, Aga, if everything is super clean, how do you know you've done it before? So I'm going to go by that rule because she told me that a few years ago. How do you know you won battles if your weapons are super clean? So it's okay if it's dirty. It's all right. I've done it before. I've been doing it for 5 years. So if you have anything like a cardboard piece or something that you feel you want to pour paint on, feel free to fetch that up. The last thing I did not mention on the email is tissues. Not because you're going to cry, but because you might have happy tears after what you've created, right? So a little tissues. And I've also got a sip of water with me. So if you feel like you need some water, go fetch it. All right. First thing we will talk about. Oops. Okay. This is, I'm hoping, what we walk away with. I'm trying to run through it so that we can get the meat of the matter. But learning the power of pause and tools and techniques is what we will learn. And a colorful painting time, right? All while doing Dot Mandala. That's one of the pieces. And it's not called, it's a little close to what this is called, Regal, but the name of that painting is Royalty. And that is hanging in someone's home. So I just thought it was really apt for bringing it to Regal because that's called Royalty. But that's one of the paintings. Now, so mandala, what does that mean? And I've just put it up here as a sentence, as something that is, it's a Sanskrit word. It depicts a sacred circle symbolizing cosmic totality, right? Today, if anyone is, mandala, as We've heard this a lot. We talk about a lot about mandala. Some people do it with pens, some people doodle it. But where does this come from? So mandalas appear across various religions and cultures, mostly aligned to spiritual aspects. There's a lot of alignment when you talk about mandalas. What do you notice in each of the mandalas that is mentioned here, right? There is usually a leaning towards balance and harmony, which symbolizes the sort of ideal relationships that we want to have with ourselves or with our environment, with the external world. Each of these pictures, I've shown a few pictures here. The first picture that you see, that is a mandala on the ceiling of Madurai Meenakshi Temple. So what does that mean? So it starts from the center point, and the center is nothing but the bindu that you say, right? The center, it trickles from the center. So that is what one of the temples in Madurai has. In fact, the bottom right also is from Madurai Meenakshi Temple. The one that you see on the top second picture, that's from a Buddhist temple in Nepal. And the bottom left is from a Jain temple in Gujarat. So I want to say that this kind of encompasses a lot of things. It is not something that is religious, but in hindsight, it is something that depicts spirituality in many ways, right? We all love reading some works of Carl Jung, right? So Carl Jung also mentioned that the mandala is a circular image that represents wholeness of the psychic grounds, right? Now, there's two centers of personality that we know: ego, which is the conscious, and self, which is the unconscious. So through mandala, we try to recenter ourselves. So our ego is not at the center of ourself, center of our psyche, but our self with a capital S becomes the center of our psyche, right? So everything is coming out from the center. Now there's another piece I'd like to bring your notice to. Oops. The Sri Yantra Mandala. A lot of people would have seen this. A lot of people know what this is, right? You know what this means. So this is, again, something that we see a lot in various temples. It's estimated to be 5,000, 6,000 years old. The triangles are, again, coming out from a center, and everything is within the circles. The circles usually represents the infinite cycle of time. So however you are coming out, you've got an infinite circle of time that is binding you. And how do we do that? Let's take a look. That's one part, mandala. Now, what is dotting, right? The dotting is nothing but it's an Australian art form, originated in the 1970s by the Aborigines. And this was a form of communication. So they did not want the Westerners to know what they were talking about. So some of these carvings still exist on the caves of Australia. And it's a wonderful way of communication. Nowadays, there's very less people who do this art form, which is dotting, Aboriginal dotting. But the combination of mandala plus dotting is what comes out to be Dot Mandala, right? That's a little background of what this is going to look like. Now, I'm going to say that's the end of a glorious PPT presentation that I put together. And now we're going to talk about what does this mean for us, right? I'm going to do something fancy. Just turn on my camera and see if I can put it on a stand, and we are going to start painting. Can everyone give me a virtual or a physical thumbs up to say that we're ready to paint? Ready. All right, super. Now, before we go to that, I have one request. If anyone has a pen, paper, if you don't, we're all supremely tech savvy, take out your phone. Type the one thing, write or type the one thing that is sitting on your brain. It is working overtime. It does not require any additional payment. It's just sitting there, right? So something that is on your mind, personal, professional. What is that one thing? Make a note of that. We love our privacy. We don't need to tell anybody else. As long as we know, awareness is what matters, right? So keep that to yourself. Now, before we get to painting, another invitation to all of you. Leave your phones. Hi, Rama. Hi, Kabir. I see you on screen and I want to say hi. You know, the old school where I want to wave to people. So you can see what I'm doing, everyone. Just wiggle your fingers, wiggle them, right? Not consciously. You're just going to forget that there are bones in there. How do you wiggle your fingers? Just let them loose. Now put them on the side. If you're sitting, if you're standing, however you are, just wiggle your fingers a little like that. You forget what it feels like to have bones in your fingers. You completely forget, right? See some of you smiling, some of you thinking, what the heck is going on? So let's wiggle. I love Bhavani. Yeah.
Yeah, she's a big fan, so I got her to join. I said, there's a Dot Mandala session. She said, Shruti. I said, yes. So she's here.
Now, after we wiggle our hands, we're going to just let them be. Throw them down beside you. Breathing, the power of breathing does not get enough importance when we are sitting, right? So we're seated. Leave your hands on the side. An invitation is, we breathe in, hold it for 4 seconds. We breathe out, hold it for 4 seconds. We're going to do this 3 times, and I'm going to give you the count for the 4 seconds. All right? Try closing your eyes. Right? 3, 2, 1, go. Breathe in. 1, 2, 3, 4. Breathe out through your mouth. 1, 2, 3, 4. Breathe in. 1, 2, 3, 4. Breathe out. Once more. 1, 2, 3, 4. Breathe in. 1, 2, 3, 4. Breathe out. All right. Slowly open your eyes. Everyone can feel your fingers a little. Feel them. How are you feeling your fingers? What comes to mind when you're feeling your fingers? Anyone?
So soft.
So soft, right? Yeah.
Yeah, so soft.
Really soft. All right. Now, let's extend the softness to the painting that we do. Right? We will extend the softness to the painting that we do. Now, let me come on camera on my other phone so that I can see. Oops. Somehow I got kicked out. There we go. Please let me know if you're able to see. What is this? Yeah, okay. Let me know if this works. Does this work? Is everybody able to see?
Yes,
What?
and you probably could make it a little brighter, Shruti. It's
Oh, a little brighter. Let me see.
you are bright on your camera screen, but not on your art. Huh? Yes.
Better?
Yeah.
I just had one additional light, Bhavani, just for you. Right. So this is what it is. Now, let's take the first piece of paper, right? And now we will talk about tools. 2 types of tools is what we are going to talk about, right? Now, if everybody has gotten their tools, you will see on the description I mentioned, there will be 2 types of stubs, right? One will be something with a flat base like this. It's just got flat. So if you've got a marker or a pen, and I'm going to show you an example. So even if it's pencil, as a matter of fact, the back of a pencil could work as a flat stub. All right. Super. Now, there's going to be one more with a rounded tip. A rounded tip, right? This one, if you can see, is a little rounded. Everyone can notice it's a little rounded, right? So one, we need a flat stub. One, we need a rounded tip. So the rounded tip can actually be played by, I'll tell you another thing. Oh, actually you could use the pencil front as well. Why not? Right? So this is also something that you can use. Right? There's 2 things that we are going to start learning. One is a standard dot and one is a walking dot. Right? Now the paint choices that I have camel, the camelin paints that I have. Remember to just shake the bottle before you dive into it. I'm going to take a bright color blue. Feel free to choose any color that you want. I like shaking the bottle a little so that it kind of gets into the right fluidity that I need. Wow. As you can see, it's a nice electric blue. If you get paint on your hand like this, you're doing a good job. It's absolutely all right. Okay, so now I am taking, let me try and see if I can take a smaller stuff. So something with a flat base is what we are going to start with, okay? Try picking up something with a flat base. Anybody has any questions at any point, please stop me and we can proceed from there, all right? So here's a flat base, all right? Now, what we do is, a rule, the first rule that we learn is dip to dot. Everyone repeat. Dip to dot. What is it called?
D to D.
Dip to dot, yes. That is good, D to D, right? So what does this mean? It means I dip my paint like this, and then I'm gonna dot. You can see, right? I'm gonna dip and I'm gonna dot. Now, mine is coming really flat. Why is yours coming round? It's normal. It's a good question. So what we do is when we're dipping, if you notice, this is the amount that I'm dipping in. You don't have to put the complete tool into the paint. All you need to do is the base touching the rim of the paint, the top rim of the paint, right? So you see there's this beautiful tip that comes out. Let me show this. There's this beautiful tip of paint that's extending at the bottom. Can you see that? That blob of paint is what is going to help you create a good dot. That's what it looks like. So Kabir mentioned fingertips are soft, right? We want to extend the same softness to the paint here. So something, I'm going to show you what not to do, is when you press really hard and you take it off, then it's kind of smudged, right? Why would we not extend the softness, the kindness, what we give to others, to ourselves? So let's do that for ourselves. Dip again and dot, right? Dip and dot. Again, once again, dip and dot. Everyone getting there? Yeah? Just dip and dot. Be gentle. You don't have to completely touch the base of the stubble to the paper. You just need to ensure that the drop of paint is sitting there. Dip and dot. Right? Give me a thumbs up if you think we can proceed from here. Right? Seeing a few thumbs up. Now, when we get into the mud, when our dog goes into the mud, we love cleaning the feet because then the whole house becomes dirty. If not, same concept with the tools, right? So I've dipped this in blue. And now if I don't wipe this, I'm going to put the blue into a white and I'm going to have a different color altogether, right? So that's what the tissues are for. Whenever you dip something into one color, ensure that you wipe it off nicely. So it's a clean tool for you to dip into a new color of paint. Right? Just wipe it off. And now that we've learned single dots, which is called a standing dot. This is what? A standing dot. Why is it called a standing dot? Because there's no difference between each dot. It's just the same size. It's the same concept. You just have to dip and dot, dip and dot, dip to dot, right? Now the next thing we are going to learn is something called as walking dots. Ooh, anyone want to suggest what color would look nice? I'm going to try purple because Bhavani is wearing purple. So there we go. Right? So let's try purple. Now we are going to take the rounded tip tool. This is a rounded tip tool. If you've got multiple such tools, so there's different kinds. Let me show you how many kinds are there. So there's different kinds, right? Either a larger size or a smaller size. It depends. Anything with a small dot, with something that's a rounded tip, right? We take anything, that's okay. In fact, one of the rounding tools could also be the back of a brush, if you have that. It could also be the back of a brush. It doesn't matter. So I'm going to choose to use this one. All right. Now, same rule. But what we're going to do, we're not going to dot one after the other. We're going to dot continuously after one dip. Right? Softness continues, kindness to the tool continues. We dip, as you can see. I can do it once if you want to observe. After I dip, I dot, 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 dot. Right? Shruti, you were able to put 5 dots. I am able to put only 3. Is this happening to anybody?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. I love that somebody's showing it. Was somebody showing it? I thought someone was showing what they're making. Okay. Yeah. Hi, Bindu. So all right. If you are somebody who is experiencing limiting dots, then that means you did not take enough paint on your tool. Or the second option is you've pressed way too hard for the paint to establish that it needs to go much sooner than the time. Right? So now let's try again. Do you see the nice blob at the end? The same concept, the nice blob at the end, right? And be gentle. It should be at the top of the bottle, right? Now, dot, 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 dot. Now, after my 5th one, I've realized through experience that if I keep going, at some point it's going to finish. So I learned to estimate how much I need by picking up the paint, right? You learn to adjust based on your requirement. My requirement is 6 dots. That's how much I want to dip the tool into the paint. So if my requirement is ever that I want to work for 5 days a week, you got to feed your soul enough to work for 5 days a week, or else you're going to slog through like these dots, right? So let's see. Again, I dip, right? Ooh, I dip too much. Something again, what not to do. My bottle of paint is already getting over, so I didn't know where to do. It's okay, we make mistakes. There we go again. Dot, 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 dot. And as I said before, because I dipped it too much, I've got bigger dots and it's lasted me longer, right? I'm probably going to work 7 days a week now. So this is how it's going to go, right? So walking dots, these are called walking dots, okay? So standard dots, walking dots. Ooh, lasting me longer, right? Now, what's the rule after we've painted once? Anyone? I want to change the color. What do I do?
Wipe it.
Yes, super. Thank you. I'm going to wipe the color off very nicely and neatly. Okay, so now nice and clean, I can dip it into any other color. Now, we have made ourselves aware of 2 techniques. How do we make patterns with just these 2? What are we going to do? So, we are going to try, in fact, we could use orange. I like orange. It's nice and bright. You can continue to use the same color if you want to. I'm just crazy of colors, so I like changing colors, switching them from time to time. So I'm going to use the same tool I did for the standard dots or the standing dots, right? What I'm going to do is I'm going to make 4 distanced standing dots, right? So I'm going to dip, and you can see there's this tip at the end that's going to help me make a nice dot, right? I'm going to dip and dot, dip, dot, dip, dot, and the last one is going to dip and dot, right? We've made 4. Now, if I could only fit 3 on the first line. That's okay. Fit the 4th one below that. Absolutely okay. Spacing is completely on us. Right? Sometimes when there's extensive paint like this, I like to wipe it off. So I'm not wasting a lot of paint. Now, the trick with acrylic paint, we are all using acrylic paint. Acrylic paint dries up extremely quickly. So if you've got a bottle that's drying up, 2 tricks. If it's halfway there, then you can use something called a paint medium. Shake it off a little, let it settle for a bit, and it might sustain a little of its fluidity. But if it's completely dry, or if it's close to completely dry, it's as good as gone. So it's nice to have paints, but use them also because acrylic dries very easily. So now, with orange, what's a good combination? What's a good color combination with orange?
Yellow and green.
Or green, light green.
Light green, I like that. All right, there we go, light green. Okay. So I've wiped my tool. I've kept it aside. Now I'm going to take the rounded tool with which I made the dot, the walking dots. I love, Kabir, that you've got earbuds. 5 years ago, earbuds is what I did for 1 whole year. And it works wonders. It works wonders. So now, with the same dotting tool that you have, the rounded tip one, right? What we are going to do is, I'm going to start the walking dots on top of this. So I'm going to let's start from the bottom. From the bottom, I'm going to do the walking dots here. All right. I'm just showing you before the paint so you know the direction of where we are going. So now dip. And you can see it's got this nice curve to it, right? So I dip and then I'm going to walk the dots a little. I seem to have a saturation at 5, which is all right. Right? We've made 1. Now, feel free to star mark it. Let's do the second. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The first dot is going to be our guinea pig. We're going to try and make it look like a star. At least that's what I think it's going to look like. I think that's what it's going to look like. So we're going to make it look like a star. I don't have enough space. I clearly did not think it through, but I'm still going to make sure I've got 5 dots on every which way. And a star does not need to look like a star all the time. Your star could look like somebody else's moon. It's absolutely all right. There we go. That's my last line for the first dot. It might look like a swimming octopus. I'm not very sure, but it's still a star in my brain. Anyone want to show what they've been able to make? Kabir, come on. Oh, lovely, Bhavani. I like that.
Thank you. It was just an experiment.
Why not? Oh, Durga, I see your beautiful face, but not your beautiful painting.
Her background is blur. That's why.
You just try taking it back a little. It may do.
Oh,
yes.
Oh,
Yes.
Bash for the rescue, always.
It started dripping. All right, there.
So that just means the paint is very fluid for you, right?
Yeah.
That would mean that you cannot take too much paint onto the tool. You want to be limited. Now, at this point, Durga, we want to learn something called distance. We want to estimate the distance at which the paint will not flow out. So for example, let me tell you what I mean. Something that I did not plan on sharing, but let's do that. So when I place the dot here, and when I place another dot here, you can see it's got mixed up. So we want to estimate what is the distance based on this fluidity that I can place the dot a little away from where it was initially. Right? This is for this particular paint consistency that I have, this is the distance I have to maintain. So you can take a look at what it looks like for you. Yeah. Right. Now, going on to the second one. We're going on to the second dot, the standing dot that we had, right? Why does the dot need to be straight? Why can I not make it a little curvy? I like the curves on tree branches or however you call it, right? So now we are going to go around. Let me show you what I mean. So you can try it once you see. We're going to go around this dot. And I'm glad Durga brought it up, or rather I brought it up after Durga mentioned something. But here is where you can see the distance matters. You don't want your green to mix into your orange. So you're going to estimate how far do I have to be or how close do I have to be for that curve to look like a curve. Is it as good as estimating should I go talk to that stranger or not? Possibly. What do you got to lose? You create a new color, right? So this is what it's going to look like. Let's try it one more time. Okay? One more time with the standing dot around. Yeah, and then we do it. In fact, on the second time, what I'm going to do is I'm going to try making it the other way around. Why should it only have to be one way? I don't know. It's a different pattern. Yeah. Another pattern that's coming to my mind. If I do this just one way, right? Now I'm going to dip it again. I'm going to do one more on top of this. So I'm going to do dot on top of dot. Now, what if I do the same thing at the bottom? Let's do this on the opposite direction. Yeah. Now, another one. Now, from here, from the octopus-looking star, we went to something that might look like a signal on the road. And now we've come to something that probably a bud ready to flourish. Or you could give it any name you feel like, because you know how we look at clouds and somebody sees a pig, somebody sees an elephant. It's just the same. Try doing this pattern. Anyone want to share what it looks like for you? I'm going to keep this up to the screen so that you can see. Kabir, I see you smiling.
I'm making meaning.
What is the meaning?
See, so Subhash has already put it in the chat that I'm seeing that accuracy as well as what's that the shape that comes consistently, all those things that matters me. I'm not reaching anywhere. I'm first time I'm trying, so I'm
What
just.
do you mean? What do you mean you're not reaching anywhere? Where does this need to reach?
This anywhere is something that I had in my mind when I work with that. Oh, it will be bringing some beautiful shape. I understand that that's a very subjective thing.
Yeah.
So that's where. So
I'm glad you know beauty is subjective.
yeah.
So I find your work beautiful, which I'd like you to also notice. Can you bring that up again, please? Yeah. In fact, your last one kind of reminds me of a frisbee. You know the frisbee we used to play with as a kid? It looks like it's a swiftly moving frisbee. Why does it have to look the same thing that I made? There's no rule. It's a ruleless world. Yeah. Right?
Yeah, sure. I may be able to get some meaning, but maybe going inside my unconscious about what I am undergoing now.
Yeah.
Probably.
The shape is becoming a dot. That's also a cause for celebration from the green. Which is good, great, Kabir.
Lovely. In fact, that's a lot to the Aboriginal dotting that I showed. To be very honest, it's looking like one of those. I love what Subhash said. Yes. But this is something, right? What do we want to create and what are we creating? How do we bridge that gap? What is it that makes us go from what we want to where we are? Or rather the other way around, right? It's all about intention. As long as you know that you are creating something. In fact, you're creating something out of nothing. This was a blank sheet. What Kabir brought up, what Bhavani brought up, what Durga is working on. That was a blank sheet. You're creating something out of nothing. Maybe that's a start. Maybe that's where you go from there. And also to Subhash's point, I've been doing this for 5 years. So there's bound to be a difference.
Yes.
Will you leave this class being artistic, professional artists? No. Will you attend 2 workshops and become a major artist who will have scenings at various galleries? Probably not. But you would have known the tools and techniques that you need to practice, and practice will bring progress. Right? Now, after all this beautiful stuff, there's one more thing I want to show you. And I know we're closer to time. It's 15 minutes and it's gone by in a jiffy, I feel. We learned one rule, dip to dot. There's a second rule, and it's called scoop to swoop. Like D to D is S to S. So you want to scoop to swoop, right? What do you mean by scooping? As my action very rightly is showing. Yeah, you just pick it up. Pick it up, you swipe it away, right? So scoop to swoop. Now, what does it mean by that? When we want to, let me take a blue for the difference. Dotting is all wonderful, right? But how do we make further designs? There's just 2 rules to follow. The second rule, I'm not going to dip now. What I'm going to do is I'm going to swirl this a little bit so that I pick up a little more paint. You remember, the longer we want to go, the more we want to dip, right? So I'm going to pick up a little more paint this way. You can see, and we're going to do something. I'm going to scoop as much paint as I want. And I'm going to do a swipe. We are not going to pick it up this time. We're just going to swipe it, right? So, second rule, scoop to swoop. So we're going to make swooshes or scoops or swoops or however you want to call it, right? Again, once again, I've taken a blob of paint. And you can see, this is what it's going to look like. The more paint you have, longer swipe is going to be. Right? We're just going to swipe a few more times before we make any further patterns. Right? Usually in a couple of hours or 3 hours workshops, we learn patterns. But even when we learn patterns, these are the only things that we use to create the pattern. So it's okay. Everyone good? Give me a thumbs up if you're good with swiping. Swiping, super. Lovely. Now that we're done swiping, we're going to do the same technique. I'm going to make 4 standing dots and we're going to use swipes to create patterns. Okay? Now, I'm just going to take a different sheet because mine does not have a lot of space. Shruti, if I keep wiping the tools like this, I'm going to run out of tissues. Yes. So one tiny trick, I use recycled paper for tissues. And I very mindfully use the tissues corner by corner by corner. So this one tissue I can use to make one 12-inch or 14-inch painting. That's how mindfully I'm able to use it. So it comes with practice, but something just for you to be mindful of. Love the nature, and we've got to respect it as much as we possibly can. So now a new color. Let's take for standing dots. Oh, like I said, I'm from an army background. I love olive green, Kabir. Let's bring that in. All right, olive green. So now with olive green, I'm going to do, let's make this horizontal a little. Standing dots quickly. So you can see how this comes out, right? Again, distancing. You can see the dip, right? The dip that you see when the paint is being pulled up. So a little tiny extra, just to give it that nice plump as a dot. If it's not a dot and it goes out to be an oval, actually that's fine. That's just another pattern and nothing else. Right? Well, I'm going to put mine below here because I didn't have enough space. But yeah, these are 4 dots, right? Now, what are we going to do with these standing dots? I'm going to take the swiping tool once again. With olive green, I like somebody suggested. I'm going to try if I can get, what's a lighter color? Ooh, let's try red. I've not tried red yet. Let's try red. I remember Sonia's background was red. Very color conscious that way. So let's look at red. So now I've taken this tool. Now, there's different kinds of tools. The bigger one, the smaller one, whichever one you take, remember to watch the distance from the main dot and start. Okay, so if you're taking a bigger tool, like I'm taking this massive one, this bigger one, then I need to start from a little here because then otherwise it's going to mix into my green. So I'm choosing to take a smaller one. Here, just a smaller nib, right? And I'm going to keep it a little equidistant from here. And we're going to swoop. Now, the same thing that we learned with dots, right? Dots we tried doing straight and we tried doing round as well. We can do the same thing with swipes. Since you've graduated the dots, we're going to try and see if we can do the swipes in a curve format. What do you mean by that, Shruti? So let's try. Again, you want more paint so that you can last longer. So you can see I'm scooping as much as I can, right? I'm going to place it here. Whoa. That didn't come as I wanted, but it's going to look a little, it looks like Dracula's teeth for some reason. It's all right. We'll make the best of what we have, right? So now again, I'm going to take it from the top to the bottom. I feel like it's a short collar for some reason. But yeah, that's what we're going to try doing. Now, the second thing that I'm going to try is while I'm swiping it from top to bottom, again, do not pick the nib, let it flow. Let it flow. It's going to flow longer. The softer you are, it's going to flow longer, right? So you want to make sure you're not pressing the nib against the paper. You're just gliding through. You're just gliding through. Do not press the nib against the paper. Now, again, I'm going from top to bottom. Why can I not go from bottom to top? Anyone remember Doordarshan? That's what it feels like at this point. Doordarshan. What's another pattern that we can do? Anyone want to share before I create? What's another technique that we can do? Whenever you feel like, whenever you're free. Diwali Chakra Cracker. Now, you know what, Anirudh, thanks for saying that. And now I feel the Chakra Cracker is very different in my brain than it is in your brain. So I'm going to ask you, what does yours look like? In a world of customization, we want to make sure that what we are thinking is being the same thing, right? When a client says he's had a good day, does his good look equal to our good? And since it's not matching, do we really want to say great job? Because maybe he doesn't feel it's all that good. He's just saying it to make you feel better. So maybe inquire, what does that chakra cracker look like? Are you going to share a picture? I think that would be a great depiction. Imagine if we were just to ask a client, what do you feel? And what's a picture that comes to mind about what you're feeling right now? They share a picture and they talk about what that picture means to them. It's a great thing. At least will give us some insight. So while he's sharing that, I'm also going to try and see if I can do this. Right? Why should it end there? Why not? Oh, I didn't dip enough paint, but why does it? Maybe a girl with hair is what it looks like. I do. And I've been able to coach 2 people through painting. So
Shruti, can I ask a question, a technical question?
yes.
Why does the paint dry out? Like yours is continuing all the way to the end of your desired state, so to speak.
Yeah.
And for us, it's drying out.
What do you mean? Show me what you mean.
I had to retouch it 3 times to get it to really, like, I'm trying different things, but the tail isn't perfect. I guess the tail isn't coming out. It's stopping before it gets to the tail. So 2 things. Number 1, I love that you've added the dots at the end, considering the tail was not long enough. Exactly, making you compensate. That's nice. I love that. Also, the second, if you notice, the starting of your swipe is very well pressed. You don't want to press it that much. Ah, okay. So I'm using paint at the beginning. Exactly. Remember, there's a lot of metaphors for coaching here, isn't it? Yes. Too much energy. If you've got to work for 5 days, you've got to make sure the paint sustains for 5 days. Right. Yeah. Too much energy upfront. Too much energy upfront. So remember to be soft. Remember that it's going on. Thank you for the reminder, Rekha. And I think that's all that I could do. I do want to spend a good 5 minutes at the end just to reflect on what this meant. So if it's okay with everyone, there's a lot more where this came from, I want to say, but if there is something that you are interested in, even as a group coaching, I think the one activity that I had not intentionalized was parent and children doing workshops together. I was able to witness that. And on this call, I'm privileged to witness that as well. So this is a fun activity. It's very ironic that we talk about time away from screen on the screen. So when this is a live workshop, it's much more natural. It's much more nicer. So can anyone tell me, everyone actually, I would like everyone to tell me the one thing that you think this reminded you of, the last 55 minutes. What did this remind you of? Just one thing, keep it brief because I want to go through at least a few of us.
I realized what I had in my head is not what I have drawn. But
okay.
In my head, it looks better. I'll just show it to you.
Yeah.
So I thought this was the dot.
Yeah.
And this was the scoop and whoop. Scoop and swoop.
Yeah. Well, it looks like that to me.
So this is the Diwali cracker I had in mind. The Diwali chakra.
See, I was not thinking that. Now I'm really glad I saw it. Thank you.
No, this is a very poor representation of what even I'm thinking, but okay.
So at least now you've got a path forward to ensure that you want to better what it is that is coming on paper. So that's good. That's progress, right, Anirudh? Thank you for sharing. Anyone else? What does this remind you of? What does the last 55 minutes remind you of?
It reminded me of school.
School. Yeah. Anyone else? Thanks, Rick.
I felt that we all were doing the same thing, but we all had our own touch to it. So each one of, like, though we do it differently. So.
Yeah. Thank you. Thanks, Subhash. Playful. Yes.
I think for me, I'll just add, I think for me, it's about connecting.
Yeah.
Each pattern we added connected to the previous one. And when you asked us to have a thought in the beginning, I had about, I'm leaving on Saturday for my family holiday to see my mom. And so I thought planning for the holiday. And then I asked my daughter, like we were discussing, what could it, with that theme in mind, what could it mean, right? So this was the firecrackers, which obviously in Diwali we would have. And this was our package, our luggage. We were going to put different aspects into the luggage. And this was the sunny Malaysia we were visiting. So I think, when you, both in sense of each dot added to the previous dot, but also you can bring a bigger meaning to the whole thing at the end of it also. For me, connecting was the thing that stood out.
Thank you for sharing. Thank you. What Bhavani did is what I had in mind. I'm glad, Anirudh. It just gives you an opportunity to connect with Bhavani further on. The last, anyone else want to share? I see Rama.
It's reminded me. It's reminded me first time my father made me to sit and learn the painting, and I left after that. But now I'm seeing that I'm learning the tools and techniques which I didn't learn there. Now I can build upon.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Another
Shruti,
minute to
thank
share.
you.
Yes, go ahead.
It reminded me to get back to my, paints and brushes. It's been quite a pause away from my paints and brushes, but this was a retouch. Reminded me to get back in touch with them.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing. I know we've got a minute, and please put it in the chat as to how much or what is it that you were thinking. What does this remind you of? One very common thing that people say, like Rekha said, or Kabir mentioned about childhood, about school, about where we left off in Durga's case, right? So when we're young, we are really brave. We tend to do things on a very uncalculated way. Why? Because we lean on the support that we have in terms of parents. Jo bhi hoga dekha jayega, maa baap dekh lenge, or a sibling will take care. You always lean on a certain support, security of a guardian, that someone will take care. As we grow up, we kind of drive into the notion of being hyper independent. We want to do everything ourselves. Our ego state is right at the center, but we forget that there is a support system that we're free to build. And if you are able to have that support system today, would you still take non-calculative risks, or would you lean into a calculative risk in your life? So just a thought to leave you by. And for anybody who's created something today, congratulations. It's been a fun joy, and I hope there's more to come. But I'm going to give it back to you, Subhash. I hope I did justice.
Thank you.
Big thanks, Shruti. Yeah, and actually it introduces to something magical. For me, I didn't have paint here. So I was taking in, and I'm going to buy and try it out. But there is so much of correlation with coaching also. We don't need to force fit, but there is so much of correlation. Yeah. So thank you for your sharing on behalf of everyone.
Thank you.
Rekha, anything you want to add?
No, thanks, Shruti, for showing us how there are different ways of taking a pause.
Yeah.
And this is one way, and it's always good to see, experiment with things and see, does it appeal, does it not appeal? And I think it is also important to give ourselves permission in case it doesn't appeal, without making a big deal about it either ways. At least this is what stood out for me.
Can I also add, at the very beginning, we wrote down the one thing that's boggling us, that's troubling our mind, that's staying on. How many of us thought about it in the last 55 minutes? It's just an invitation to you. How many of you thought about that while you were painting? That's the callback. That's the invitation for you to understand what does it mean for you to step away, to recharge, to gather your thoughts and get back. Have all the information before you make informed decisions.
Beautifully said. Thanks for tying it up so neatly, Shruti.
Thank you.
So symmetric, just like your mandalas. So on that note, yeah.
Happy Karnataka Rajyotsava. And
Happy Karnataka Rajyotsava. And
I think Punjab, Kerala, right?
Yeah.
And happy sun. Yeah.
Take care, everyone.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Thank you,
Everyone. Good night, everyone.
everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye. Bye.
Bye. Good night.